I have an announcement. Between July 23rd and August 11th, we are going to be conducting a data visualization competition. You'll get to participate in this if you sign up for our marketing analytics case study course. So what we're going to do is have you compete for a chance to win a spot on the podcast. All you have to do is finish the course, post your visualization to LinkedIn, tag us in it, and you'll be entered in on this competition. So what are the benefits for you? Well, number one, you're going to build a killer analytics portfolio piece. Number two, if you tag us in it and we comment on your LinkedIn post, this is going to be a wide range of exposure for you. And then number three, if you win, you get to come on the podcast and have an expert review your work. So that's just hugely valuable just into itself. So Michael Galarnik is a true heavy hitter in the analytics space. He is published on LinkedIn, he's a lecturer at Stanford, and he is currently the head of developer relations at Anyscale. On August 13th, he is coming on our How to Get an Analytics Job live stream to review our finalists. Well, I realize you may be a little bit intimidated, but let me ease your anxiety a little bit. So what I'm going to be doing over the next 2 weeks is I'm going to be quite vigilant on checking my tags on LinkedIn. So if you come up with your first iteration of your dashboard, tag me in a LinkedIn post and I will give you detailed feedback on what you're doing well and how you could even improve it further. And you can even tag me multiple times. I'm open to taking an iterative approach, because I think that's probably the best way to build out a really solid analytics portfolio. So all you have to do is tag us, post your work publicly, and you're going to be entered in this contest. And I can't wait to see the finalist results, because already we have Deepak and we have Abe Diaz who have taken this course and tagged me on multiple iterations of their dashboards, and they look fantastic. So if you're ready to beef up your personal brand in the analytics space, then join us in on this challenge. I dare you. Hello and welcome everybody back to the podcast. So Jenny, I'm glad that you logged in like 3 minutes before, so we didn't even get to chit chat. We did a sound check and then we hit record.
I know.
So how are you doing today?
Oh my gosh, well, the day just started, so it's like 9 a.m. in California.
That's right.
I have not had my coffee yet, so hopefully I'm not too rusty today.
Interesting. Yeah, I'm actually going to be out in Santa Barbara in, I think, 3 weeks from now. It's so beautiful out there.
Yeah, you were telling me that. It's really nice. And it's not humid here.
No. Yeah, I was about to say it's like hot and muggy.
It's pretty
right
wretched
now.
here, yeah.
Also, this is the second time we've ever done like an in-person me and Al together. So it's weird not seeing Al over here on the screen.
First was 48 hours ago. Yeah.
Right.
It was like really jarring seeing you guys together. I was like, whoa, I didn't know they were going to be together.
Yeah, I was about to, hopefully this podcast is just going to be full of these little happy little surprises. All right, so our intern's supposed to be joining us. So he is in the Blue Ridge Mountains on a family vacation, and he said he may not have internet. So we'll see. He didn't even respond to my text, so I hope everything is okay out there. So what we're going to be talking about today is kind of like what has been your experience, because I'm so impressed that you've been working like out of undergrad for what, 2 years now?
Yeah, so I graduated in 2018 from UC Santa Cruz, June 2018. So it's been almost 3 years, but okay. I didn't start my career in analytics until January 2020. So really it's only been like a year and 7 months. Wow.
So that's even more impressive than I initially thought. So you're already at the senior analyst role. I feel like there's a huge amount of lessons that we can kind of piece out from that. And then for the interactive section, which hopefully Hunter can come on here. But if not, he sent me his work ahead of time and we can completely eviscerate it, which he loves. But all right, so let's start off with the question of how did you get your first analytics job?
Do you want to hear about the current job I have now or my internship that kind of started it?
Yeah, let's start from the beginning. I think that's a good idea.
Okay. So I back in summer, it was summer 2016, and I was declared a computer science major, and I was looking for internships for computer science at the time. And so I got this internship at the J. Craig Vayner Institute. It was bioinformatics, so it was like research. And I got it through a referral, which if I had any advice for anyone applying to jobs, like referrals are the easiest way to go. Like it's you always have a much higher chance.
Totally agree.
And that was like a bioinformatics, like data engineering. So it was when I first got introduced to data in the context of computer science. So I was working with like cancer data, and we would take the data. We took it from like an online data source, and then we would run it through the pipeline. We were using the command lines, it was like bash scripts, and then we would run it through R. We would do statistical tests for it, and then use the ggplot too in R, and like do the data visualization portion of it. And so the whole concept of the research project was just to do a lot of exploratory data analysis, like to see if there were correlations between like these, they're called like DNA damage repair genes.
Okay, so you're already in your internship, you're more technically like in depth than I am. So is that because of your computer science background?
Yeah.
I'm like coding illiterate. Like I can like basically like my level of competency with coding is my level of competency with Spanish. Like I can get around a city in Mexico, but like I can't have like a soulful conversation heart to heart with someone or make a joke. But I mean, I know like the basic semantics. So you learn those skill sets in class?
Yeah, I learned in college. And so the thing is that I'm by no means a software developer. I know Python and R. I learned Java, but I didn't take that many classes for it. Like I would never call myself like a software developer. I think having that like theoretical understanding of computer science has been really helpful, but I don't like the reason why like being a data analyst more and doing the visualization piece of it is because it's pretty different from the coding aspect of it. Like I like doing all the creative like user experience stuff as well. Also like the coding, but not as much.
So we're totally kindred spirits then. Because what's funny is that I think in my essence, I'm more of a creator than I am like an analyst or like someone who's logical minded. And it's funny because the crossroads of like being creative and analytical thinking, I mean, totally you would have a YouTube channel on analytics.
Yeah.
I mean, there's like, we got the lighting, we got the camera set up, we've got, all right, how are we going to have our different segments? So we're having an intro segment and then Q&A segment and then an interactive segment. I mean, it's very like kind of a fun mixture of both of those. So I totally feel you there.
Yeah, that's like totally how I feel I've been making videos since I was 12 years old, not YouTube videos, but just like home videos with my friends and family. And so I always liked being creative, and I don't know why. Like, I don't know why I like doing the analytical stuff and the creative stuff, but it definitely, that's me. And it sounds like you too.
Well, I think that, so kind of like the underlying, like there's an underlying value structure there. I think that, and correct me if I'm wrong on this, because this is totally a snap judgment. Do you value novelty and like change?
Yeah.
So I do too. And that's why I think that, well, number one, entrepreneurship is a great fit for me. I think a lot of people want a full-time steady job, but then also being like both analytical and creative, data visualization is kind of a really good spot because there's an artistic side to it, but then underneath that artistic side, is it actually useful? So it really hits kind of on multiple points for me.
Yeah, totally. Like the other thing about it is with like being a data analyst, you're also interacting with the stakeholders of the clients, and you're trying to understand what they're looking for, what's going to be the most impactful thing for them. And that's always going to be changing as well. And you always kind of want to be like one step ahead. Like, yeah, you want them to tell you what they want, but like go a step further and like try to come up with other things that maybe they don't even know they want yet that they'll find useful. And I think that's where like the creative, like imaginative, like innovation stuff plays in.
Yeah, it's kind of like the future. You're looking into the future where I think a lot of analysts are looking back at historical trends to uncover like what should we do today. So it's an interesting place to be, like kind of that for like creative type that's forward looking. And yeah, I mean, data visualization is definitely where it's at, because coding is like, it's too detail specific for me. But what's funny is that I think most of our audience is more on they value stability and security. So I need to like not talk too much about like my entrepreneurial like lifestyle.
The podcast is not about you, John David. It's about the customer.
That's true. Yeah, I was about to say that's why we have Al here, because he's the stand-in for the audience here. All right, so we were totally got sidetracked, and we were talking about.
When does that ever happen?
Well, I mean, that's what. What's funny is I literally got a drink with one of the podcast fans on Monday, and he was saying, I love these. Yeah, so we're starting to do like physical meetups. So like if you saw the posts from yesterday, our social media manager, of course, was like, hey, we're at lunch. Let's take a photo. So it was me, one of my 4 number students, Al, the social media manager, and then Ryan Forrest, who is he runs a marketing agency, but he's taking over our as the lead for marketing our platform. So we're trying to get more of those like physical in-person meetups. And another example of that is that there's this civic hackathon, or this civic, Tim, I think is in the chat. So it's called Code for Greensboro, and I'm butchering their pitch right now, but it's Code for Greensboro, and they're looking at civic data so that they can make the city run better. For example, we could pull like type of fire data or emergency data to build a visualization and help the citizens in a specific area figure out like, all right, what are the hazards that are at risk for me?
That's cool. That's really cool.
Well, and my intern is the one who's kind of like heading up that collaboration. So I'm getting better at delegating. That's not something is intuitive to me. I think my impulse is to be a little bit micromanaging, and I need to like just let them go.
That's so good that you're learning then. Because I would say I think that is really important too. Like something that I'm still learning is how to delegate. That comes up like to like the more managerial positions. So yeah, it is really important, and I think it'll like take a load off your back too. Like it's a win-win because you won't have to do as much.
Yeah, hopefully long term it will. In the short term, it's kind of grating and nerve-wracking of like, I know I could do this perfectly and very quickly, but having someone else kind of like put them. Yeah. I mean, the first initial test of this is this guy right here, actually. So he's the first super fan. So he reached out to me and said, hey, the podcast has had a big impact on my life. I feel invested in the future of it. And I was like, really?
How invested?
That's so sweet.
So I let him take over our LinkedIn company page, and he doubled the size of the followership in 1 month. And then, and then we're like, what, 7 times larger now? And it's all because of him.
Oh no, it's 20 now.
Wow,
actually, probably like 22. But no, I wanted to ask because, Jenny is like all over social media, and I know that you have some things that are kind of oriented towards music, and some things that are just, kind of your personal craziness, and then some things that are like now your YouTube channel. It looks like you pivoted it at one point, and now it's kind of all data, with a splash of music. So I was curious to ask, do you have a strategy for that? Like, was that all kind of planned and thought out, or did that just sort of happen that way?
It just kind of happened that way. So it is funny though, because when I first started my job in January 2020, I knew that I wanted to make videos about analytics in my life, like how with technology. But I wanted to get a little bit more experience in the field because I wanted to make sure the videos that I were putting out, I was giving correct information to people. And so that's why I waited like a year after I started my job. And that's when you'll see like my first data video, which is the day in the life video.
Yeah, that video blew up. Congrats. We know. I think our most popular video is only like 30,000. We're such a like niche content, like long form, over an hour long videos. Because I mean, that one's like what, 10 minutes long, something like that.
Oh, it's like 4.
It's like 4, yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, if you want the reach, go for the shorter videos, because the goldfish mindset of like, we're just gonna get on YouTube and consume all the stuff. But yeah, congratulations on that. That's huge.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I was really shocked. I was like, whoa. It just like, yeah, I guess it seemed to be helpful. I tried to respond to everyone in the comments, everyone asking questions and stuff like that. So yeah, I hope it was helpful.
Okay. Actually, we were having a conversation about this over lunch yesterday with Christina and our marketing manager. To those of you who are listening, don't ask us broad questions like people who are putting out content and kind of like in this. I hate calling us influencers because that has such a bad name to it. But like educators in this space, don't ask us broad questions like,
how do I get an analytics?
Yeah, how do I get an analytics job? Because I could just, I don't want to be snarky, but it's like, here's a link to a YouTube channel that's all about that. There's 150 hours worth of content. So like, I mean, I guess I could give the high points, but I mean, do you find that you get kind of those like, it's almost like they're starting off the interaction with you and they're kind of demanding something? Is that your experience as well?
With those specific questions, it's hard to answer just because of what you're saying. Like, it's such a broad question. I don't even know where to begin. The best thing I can do is like link a full YouTube channel, like link this YouTube channel and be like, okay, just watch all the videos on here. But yeah, sorry, what was it?
Well, I mean, so the question was, I mean, are you, well, okay. It was, I was like, if we were in like in a courtroom, I would be guilty of leading the witness because I have a point that I want to make. But like, are you getting, are you
torturing metaphors again?
That metaphor was spicy and also very, very much accurate. So are you getting a lot of questions that are just extremely broad and there's no way for you to like answer it in a meaningful way?
Like, tell me how to get where you are. Like,
yeah, I get a lot of specific questions. I think I get more specific questions than broad questions. Either that or like I just tune out the broad questions and I don't answer them. But a lot of the questions on the video are very specific. Like someone asked me the other day, like, do you recommend any statistics books? Like, that's like, I hadn't even thought about that. But
yeah.
So
that I would say that's a good question because that's very specific. Because what that question has is like bumpers on it. Because if you ask me like, hey, what should my next job be? It's like, well, do you have a degree? What's your area of expertise? Where do you want to go in the future? It's like you asked one question, but it really opened up like 80 different questions that I need to clarify to give you solid advice. So kind of the point that I'm making is some advice on people who are listening about how to engage with people that are in this space. Because a great example of this is Abe Diaz. He's one of our super fans, and he is actively engaging with our content all the time, which helps us out because it helps boost our signal out on YouTube and LinkedIn. But like I had a phone call with him yesterday, 2 days ago, about he had a very specific situation come up related to analytics. So like we have a relationship developed. It's like you need to not hit someone who's a complete stranger with like a detailed give me paragraphs upon paragraphs. And I think some of it comes from like a point of I don't want to be mean or harsh, but like desperation. Like someone will be like, I have an interview coming up in 3 days. I have this specific type of case study. Give me advice on this. And it's like, that's kind of like demanding.
Yeah, I can see how it can come off that way. I think something else that I've been realizing is that I think people just like don't know. Like they don't know how to ask the questions. And some people like don't have haven't grown up with the same resources. I guess like I was really lucky. Like I went to college and like I learned all of these skills there, and I knew people outside after I graduated that were in the workforce that could help coach me through these things. So I think it is important, John David, for people to know like better not to ask those broad questions. I think that a lot of people just don't realize it. That I'm not sure.
Okay. So I'm gonna make the broader point that I was gonna make of like what you could do as someone who is tuning in and listening to this. You can reach out to people like me, Al, or Jenny, and develop a relationship with us, and that can be great practice for you reaching out to hiring managers who might be hiring in a position that you want to. That's like one of our like big, I guess, job hacks. What you can do is type in analytics manager, filter for your specific area on LinkedIn, and start building genuine relationships with people in your area. Because, I mean, especially if it's a big company, they're going to get hit with like 1,000 applications for every interview. And they would rather just sidestep that and say, I know this person, let's bring him in or her in and see if they're a good fit for this role.
Yeah, so my advice on that too would be if someone, first off, do you want my advice on like how, if I were somebody, like how would you approach someone on LinkedIn?
Yes.
No.
Yes. Yes, we do.
Yeah, I'm just messing with you. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, that's kind of the conversation I wanted to kind of steer into.
Okay.
Sorry,
yes.
there's a big preamble there.
No, I love it. I love the preamble.
This is why we don't do show prep for these awesome awkward moments.
Yeah, exactly. Well, now we're in person, so the awkwardness is intensified.
Who doesn't love awkward moments? So.
They're fun if you point them out. You're like, there's one.
Yeah, let's like really highlight that.
Yeah.
Okay, so if I were somebody, so when I was doing it, I was looking for people that had things in common with me on LinkedIn. For example, like, oh, this person worked at this previous company that I worked at. This person also graduated from UC Santa Cruz. Like, this person also did cheerleading in high school. Like, little things like that. Find something that you have in common with the person to make them feel more connected with you. Like, right off the bat, especially with, I'll say this, like, I get like at least one message a day from somebody, or I feel like I'm being bombarded. So it's nice when there's someone that goes like, oh, I know this person, or like we have this thing in common. It like really sets them apart. So that's going to be the first thing for somebody to grab the hiring manager's attention, or the recruiter, or the friend that you want a referral from. And if you are like doing it like colds, like then it's most likely going to be something like your skill set. So like, oh, I also have the DA 100 certification, and build off of that. And definitely wouldn't say anything about like, how do I get a job? Be like, do you have like maybe like 10, 15 minutes? Like, I'd love to hear about your experiences, like with your job, how you got to where you are. And it's going to be about you, the person that's looking for a job, like listening to the person that you're trying to learn from. And then from there, you start developing the relationship, like you're saying, John David. And
all right. So Abe, I want to ask you, since you're on the live chat, are you open to me talking about the opportunity that came to you that we talked about earlier on in the week? I don't want to like spill the beans and it not be okay with you. Hopefully he's still here, but this is just a really interesting kind of side caveat to that. But absolutely, yeah, it just feels like I totally get that you're being bombarded, but I think that a lot of analytics managers are in a similar boat. And this is a skill set of like building new relationships that I think a lot of people in this space specifically, especially those who are like very, very technical, like have the mind of a technician, and they want to like get really into like technology and coding and advanced stuff. They are not as much plugged into the human side and building relationships and plugging into communities.
Oh, that is really interesting. Well, if anyone, can people type in the chat? If anyone wants to say hi in the chat, like this is like these live streams, this is the perfect time to ask the questions, because then we can like have a conversation about it. Like, yeah, so.
Yeah, these live streams are wild. I mean, it's, how many have we done at this point? Like 15, 20?
Yeah, because we've done we've done 6 or 7 with the Google Analytics.
Right.
And then I think we started about the same time. Yeah. So it's in the teens.
So what's interesting is that I'm kind of like this weird hybrid of like, so next semester at Greensboro College, I think I'm going to be live streaming half of my lectures. So that's going to be,
cool.
Well, it'll be interesting because like what we did last semester, I don't know if you're familiar with the podcast, we brought in analytics experts and then we did like Zoom calls and recorded them and then I post them as podcast episodes. So like I love Greensboro College because like they kind of let me like have leeway. It's like a very non-traditional type of like a in-person class because it's more application based. So like we're working on real projects. So last semester they worked with 2 of my consulting clients and then did the podcast. So Monday they did consulting work. Wednesday they did the podcast episodes. And it's just like, I almost feel guilty like in that it's like legitimately fun to just hang out. I feel like we're going on like these internet adventures together.
That sounds unbelievably lame.
What?
Interventures?
Okay.
Yeah,
Oh, you guys, oh my gosh.
What?
You guys are gonna laugh at me. So on my thing, like there's a thing that says private chat and then there's a thing that says comments. I'm like, why is no one writing in the chat? Because I haven't been looking and I haven't been able to see it.
Oh,
You guys, I'm so sorry.
Well, okay. So what's funny is, all right, I don't know if Matt is listening live, but Matthew Cole is a civil engineer who works, weird, small world. He works 5 minutes away from where I live. Like we went and grabbed a coffee maybe like a month ago, the first time. We grabbed a beer Monday night and he was like, hey, you need, let me give you some feedback. Start the podcast where you just get to know the person and then head over to the chat afterwards. It's because it's like trying to engage with you and like focus on what you're saying and the chat. Because I mean, it looks like there's 40 people in the chat. So like it gets really overwhelming really fast. I don't want there to be like these like awkward start and stop and jarring.
Yeah.
So we'll go to like an interactive section where we'll start to talk to people. And because see what I can do is pull people's chats into the video here.
Okay, yeah, I was seeing that. You guys, my face like literally is like lit up from seeing the chat. Hi, everyone.
All right, but
you have legit fans developing just over the course of this live stream. So
that's true. Yeah. Well, I'm the biggest one of them all, though. All right, so we totally got sidetracked. You were in the. Let's finish up your career story, and then we can head to commercial break and then do a Q&A section. How about that?
Okay. Whatever.
All right.
Yeah.
So you had an internship in bioinformatics, which that sounds super complex. And then that led, did they hire you full time or did that lead to a referral to a job?
So I actually realized after that internship that I didn't want to be going into research. Like it was a research. So I was helping a grad student with her research theses. And so it was not going to align with my path. So I went back to school and because I was halfway done with college and I still like wasn't entirely sure at the time. Like it took me so long to like actually feel comfortable with like what I wanted to do because I still feel, and I still feel this every day. Like I still have so much to learn and like don't know everything. But I went back to school and I took more data classes because before I'd been taking computer science classes. So I tried to focus on taking the classes that were more aligned with like data analysis and like with the major cognitive science, it was usually with like applications in psychology. So it was a lot of research stuff still too. But
did you go back for a master's degree or just took additional undergrad courses?
I took additional undergrad courses. I took one graduate class. It was a quantitative data analysis class. It's so funny because I didn't even realize, like, I didn't know much about what, like, the data career was, but I just knew that I loved it so much. So, like, I saw the class and I just, like, took it. And, yeah, I didn't really, like, know what it was. I didn't understand, like, how impactful, like, the career could be, like, how in demand jobs were for analytics and stuff. So I'm sorry. I hope that answered your question. I don't know if it did.
There was no question other than just tell us about your track. So you went
prompt the guest to talk. That was that was the question.
I'm just gonna shut my mouth and let you let you do your thing, because I hate those podcasters who talk like 80% of the time and their guests talk 20%. I'm trying to legitimately, like, you've got a very impressive story and an interesting perspective. So you went from the bioinformatics, then you went back and upskilled, which, okay, that sounds like a very costly way of building data analytics skills.
Oh, like in school?
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
Well, because this is a whole conversation into itself of like, the hard skills are essentially become commodified on places like Udemy and LinkedIn Learning.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because it's go ahead.
I would argue that in college, like, you learn so much more than the actual like hard skills. Yes, like I definitely take stuff that I learned in college and apply it to my job now, but like, you learn more about, I think, in college, like the world around you, like more nuanced things that you wouldn't get if you're sitting in your house, like taking a class. I know that it is expensive. That is like the downside to being in person and like doing like classes like that, like having that experience. But
wait, I think I disagree with you.
Oh, really? Okay.
So wait. Will you say what you said? Just say it slightly different, because I may have misunderstood what you're saying. So you're saying that college, you learn a lot in college?
I think in college, like in the workforce, you're doing more than just sitting in front of a computer. You're doing so much communication. You have to be intuitive, knowing like who to reach out to for what, especially with analytics. Like, I'm like running around, like trying to find data. I have to know who to reach out to. I have to know like which stakeholders are what, and like just all of the like, again, like nuanced things. And I think that being in an environment like college where you're surrounded by a lot of people, you're learning a lot of new ideas and ways of thinking. I think that is the part that I would say was like really valuable, like about college.
I was about to say, you had a very different college experience than I did, I think. So undergrad, I just like, what's funny is that I'm now a professor, but I would not have wanted taught my younger self. Because I just coasted through undergrad and partied. And it's like, it's interesting because you're around people who are just like you, or people who are in like a very firm, authoritative, like your professor or faculty in school, to where I would say that, okay, so let me tell you a quick little anecdote about Jay Swano, who he is one of our recent podcasts. Well, he's a podcast guest maybe, 6 months ago?
Yeah, it wasn't that recent. This
was 6 months ago.
This was like January.
So what he did was he had come on, he had just landed his first business intelligence role at Amazon. He had his own nonprofit that was selling toothbrushes, and the donations were going to an environmental cause. So starting like your own side hustle and having to interact with the community and then like different people within an organization, I would say that is something that school they can't teach that. In fact, like most schools, and maybe you went to a really good program and it was completely different. It feels like most schools kind of spoon feed the children like information. And it's like it's like bowling and there are the bumper pads on. Like you can't really fail, and there's like not, I mean, you can get like a C or a D or an F, but then you can just retake the class. So it's like there's kind of stakes, but like not really.
Yeah, okay, it does sound different than, I will say, like, you're absolutely correct. I agree, like, with the sentiment that you wouldn't be able to get the experience that you just described with Jay. Is that his name?
Yeah, Jay Swano.
With Jay, you wouldn't get that at school. And there are probably, like, I say, like, college or whatever, but there are other ways to get the skills that I got at college, like, through, like, work experience as well, I believe.
Right. Well, because, like, an alternate track that, like, people don't, I don't know if they don't think about it, or if it's, like, we're socialized to say, this is the path to success, which feels a little bit outmoded, is that you can essentially get paid to develop skills. And then if you get really good, then maybe your organization will pay for you to go to school. And then that's like your relegate, because the thing that's not talked about with education, and my co-host, Dr. Hall, who's the dean at High Point University's business school, is probably like not going to like this. It's a big risk, except for High Point University's business school, which is always awesome.
Sounds great.
No, but on a serious note, it is a big financial, like you take out a huge amount of loan early on in your life. And I think most people aren't thinking about that. Like they're thinking like, I want to move up in a company, and maybe it'll work. I mean, I will say this on a serious note, High Point University does a fantastic job of developing soft skills, which wasn't personally my experience, but also I have to take ownership. And then I guess I wasn't a very good student in undergrad. A grad school, I did a whole lot better.
I think like with my college, like I got what I put into it. Like when I didn't try, which there were times I didn't try, like no one was reaching out to help me. Like you kind of have to, at least I went to like a public university, like UC Santa Cruz. Like there's so many people there, but if you do want to put in the work and you want the help, like go to those office hours, like after class every day or whenever.
Okay, I feel like we came to a happy medium of like school. See, because I think I was just too immature to go directly to undergrad. Like I should have worked for a while.
Yeah. Okay, it is really interesting. Yeah, I think college after high school is definitely not for everybody. College itself is not for everybody, and everyone has their own learning path. And I think someone in the chat was just saying, like, I'm trying to read it, but it's really true. Everyone has a different style. Like, so what works for you is not going to work for me. What works for me might not work for you. I think I got really lucky. I think the way that the traditional, like, go to college and then blah, 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 like, ended up working out in my favor. I think.
Good. That's awesome. Okay, so you went and you got a degree and then went back and took more college courses.
I didn't. So I worked at a tech, after graduation, I worked at a tech camp. And I taught Python, Photoshop, HTML. I also taught improv and game design. I don't have that anywhere like on my LinkedIn, but like also really improv is actually, it's great. It's a great skill to build.
We're literally develop soft skills. Oh yeah.
We're literally improving right now. That's the whole podcast.
We are.
We're just yes-anding, and that's like the entire. We do that for an hour and a half once a week.
You know the yes-and.
I do, yeah. Well, okay, so the yes-and is interesting, but I also like to push back a little bit and make people kind of like you said something, and then I pushed back, and you like defended yourself. I think that's not yes-and, but that's definitely. I think that makes for interesting conversation.
Yeah.
Because I'm kind of high in disagreeableness.
Yeah, no, I love the little sparring. It's fun.
Yeah, well, it's not malicious. I'm not attacking you as a human being. But yeah, it's improv. That's definitely a good skill to develop.
Yeah, it's super fun. And then I worked, I was like really, honestly, I'll say this to everybody, like when I got my job, and just in general, like I've had the worst imposter syndrome, like my whole life. Like I was just in shock when I got my job, to be honest. Like even though I have the credentials like to get it, the reason why I think it took me a year and a half after college to actually start was because I was so like just insecure about my skills. And then it took a lot of me like doing like positive like self-talk to myself, like telling myself, okay, like it's fine. I had a lot of reassurance from my friends, and that was really helpful as well. But I don't know if this is helpful for people to know, but like if you do have imposter syndrome, just know that it's normal, and you do have a lot of skills probably that you don't even realize.
But I will say, like, you know, and I'm always kind of, I feel like I'm often the voice of reason. There's a continuum. There are a bottom line of required like foundational skills for a job. So, you know, just like they say, just because you're paranoid doesn't mean they're not out to get you. Just because you have imposter syndrome doesn't mean you're not underqualified. So, if hopefully it spurs you into positive action, that you're upskilling and working and not panicking. But, if you have imposter syndrome, if you think you're unqualified or underqualified for a job, you may be right. And that should just impel you to work harder and to get there.
Okay.
But you need to have a kind of a reasonable grasp on it. Like maybe ask some impartial observers. Maybe ask your boss. Just like, hey, how am I doing? Like, no BS. What's my work performance look like? What do I need to work on? I think people often are afraid to do that.
Yeah. Okay. I do have a point to this.
Yeah.
Of course.
Me having a point?
I have thoughts.
Okay. What you just said is a really interesting thing that I kind of wanted to unpack a little bit of, like if you think that you're unqualified for a job, there's some like underlying arrogance there. Like if you're getting interviewed, the person saw some potential in you. So don't self-weed yourself out, because it's kind of like you don't know what they see. But to assume that it's negative it's like irrationally negative. It's like there's this weird, like you're confident about this negative worldview, instead of being like open to new possibilities.
I agree with.
Go ahead.
I'm really glad that you guys added on to like what I said, because I think that it brought it around to like the best circle possible.
Good.
Sweet. High five.
That's the podcast. So I have the opposite problem where I have like more, I'm more optimistic than I should be most of the time. And then it leads to me being publicly like humiliated or having like public fails. So I guess that's like, which one is better there, because at least you're like, if you have imposter syndrome, you're not like looking like a delusional maniac like I do sometimes.
He gets the Luke Skywalker delusions of grandeur.
Yeah.
You can't pronounce yourself a Jedi Knight before it's, like the council approves you.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, he's my spirit.
Yeah,
my spirit character right there. Okay, so go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say there's a happy space in the middle.
Yeah, exactly. And that's my point usually to people. It's like, hey, don't be irrationally negative, but don't be irrationally positive either. Like, get an honest assessment. If you can't honestly assess your own skills, that's quite common. Like, get someone else to honestly assess your skills. And, there's plenty of assets out there that can look at your resume, assuming it's honest, and, a job description and say, you are qualified, or you could apply and, try your luck, or, you probably need to, spend a couple more months working on stuff.
Yeah. I also think there's another problem within that too. I think people often over-identify with their work or their job. Like for me, I'm starting to feel separation from the work that I do and who I am as a person. So like you can harshly criticize the learning platform that I'm doing, and I want that. I want like we're doing this beta test and we're getting detailed feedback on every person who takes the course, and it doesn't affect me as a person. In fact, it's like I flipped the script and it's like, oh, I'm really grateful that you brought this to my attention so it can be even better in the future.
Yeah. I think also, Al, I was going to say something what you were saying. Having multiple mentors is so helpful. Having like, even so when I started my job, I told him I was going to shout him out, and I will. Sam, he was on like he was like one of my project leads for the visualization, and I learned so much through him. It was so nice to have someone that was experienced in the field to help guide me through like the best practice way of doing things. And I think that having that's like been just so tremendously helpful. And I think having mentors and like for all different aspects of your life, and this is advice too that I've received from a lot of people in my company as well. Like having as many multiple mentors is always good. And to always be getting feedback on how you're doing and how you're improving.
How did you find those?
It looked like through LinkedIn.
So you were active seeking them out.
Yeah, asking people like, hey, do you know anyone that like has XYZ position, like is like really good at data engineering? Like I feel like I need to work on my technical skills. Like I want someone that's like really good at that to help me out. And so that's how you would find people, is you would just like be super proactive and looking.
Awesome. All right. Well, so we're getting questions in the chat about the Q&A. So let's head over. All right, we're gonna cut to a commercial break, and then while that commercial is running, guys who are in the chat, guys and gals, please ask us questions so they'll be concentrated, because it looks like we've had, I don't know,
had a lot.
We've had 200 comments, so sifting through all of that. Just if you asked a question earlier, ask it again so that it'll be concentrated, so we can quickly. So all I have to do is click and bring this in, like Thomas Bozer here. So is there an agenda? Absolutely not. Do we get a Q&A at some point? Yes, right now. All right, so let's cut to this one. Are you looking for real data to analyze? An actual problem to solve? An experience worth talking about in an interview? Well, in this case study course, you get a real-world problem with a messy data set and a business outcome that's on the line. My name is John David, and I'm the founder of Silvertone Analytics, a boutique consulting agency that focuses on business analytics. I'm also a professor of analytics at Greensboro College. And in 2021, I had the privilege of combining these two worlds. My real-world Greensboro College students got to work with my Silvertone Analytics clientele for the Analytics Minor Capstone course at Greensboro College. This case study course is modeled after the lessons, the trials, and the tribulations that my students went through in the Analytics Minor Capstone course. My students got to work directly with the president of an organization that is clearing over $150 million in revenue every year. And this case study course keeps the exact same data structures that they worked through in that case study. But I anonymized the data to protect my client's privacy. So are you ready to solve a real-world business use case, build a killer analytics portfolio, and even learn how to communicate these findings in an interview setting? Well, click the Take This Course button now and join me inside. All right, so let's jump to some questions. All right, chat, I'm a little disappointed. We didn't get any new questions, so we got to go up.
Yeah, I'm
plenty
looking
of
at
old questions.
Yeah, so
here's one.
Is there Tinder for mentors / mentees yet? I don't think so, but that's a really good idea.
Right?
Because they have like the Bumble BFF and like
that's true.
The Bumble Business. So there's Bumble Business. Maybe you can go Bumble Business.
You know, like 10 times as many social media platforms as I'm even aware of. Talking to Jenny the other day, she was talking about she used to Twitch stream, and like honestly, until that conversation, the only thing I knew happened on Twitch was like nerds watching each other play video games. So clearly I'm the old man in the room, but yeah, had no clue.
Okay, most of these are just comments now. All right, here's another good one.
Natika got it right the first time this time. We call her Nikita every stinking time.
No, Al wasn't sleeping. He was just on his phone during the middle of a live stream. No, he was looking at comments.
Oh yeah, I was answering because I worry that the people on LinkedIn are not getting responded to all that well. So.
I got Jenny, advice on getting good at Power BI fast. Do some sample projects. Microsoft has I'm not sure how, like, they have like a dashboard in a day. So like if anyone wants to try, like if you can't get it to work, reach out to me. Maybe I can look into it. But it should be on like the Microsoft website. And there's like, I know that there's data on GitHub for that. And it basically will walk you through like very beginner, like it's like a hand holder project. So
is that free? Do you remember?
Yeah, it should be free. Okay. Power BI Desktop is free to download. That's the cool thing about it, is that you can like just dive right in like for free.
Okay.
And I did want to clear up. I don't have a computer science degree. So at the time when I applied to the internship, on my resume, that's something that was like blared out because I was a computer science major. But then I switched my major. like a million times.
Didn't we all?
Okay, so that's what I misunderstood. I thought you got a computer science degree, then went back and took 2 or 3 data analytics courses, which would be like 2 or 3 courses in data analytics would be like what, $6,000, where you could just take like a Udemy course for like $10 and learn the hard skills relatively quickly. Which I feel like is a whole conversation into itself of like why are these hard skills so cheap to acquire? Do you have any thoughts on that?
Why are the hard skills cheap to acquire? I think it's the hard part about the hard skills isn't like doing it for 1 second. It's like keeping up with it and being able to, once you understand like all of the like memorizing what's an if statement, it's being able to like use again your creativity and like put it all together and come up with new solutions. And those are really what employers are looking for when they say like hard skills. Like they want someone that not just like took a few classes and like knows what an if statement is, but like knows how to use an if statement.
Right. So that's one thing that like I've actually been sitting on this specific problem for all summer of like, because on Udemy it's like $9.99. Everyone knows you can get a course on Power BI or SQL for $10, but why? Like, is it worth $10? I think those courses are, yes, because you don't get that application based. Like some of these courses, 100,000 people are taking it. It's not customized. There's not really a compelling story. It's just, oh, here's how you connect to data. Here's how you push this button. Here's how you click around and do these things. That's important. I wouldn't say it's super valuable when it's not going to land you a job. It'll get you up to the door potentially. Like if you have to get like pass a skills test or, that's interesting because I guess, how do you signal a skill set? I guess you could put it on your resume, right?
That actually dovetails nicely into another question that came in on LinkedIn. So I was meaning to ask, Jenny, do you have an online portfolio? How do you display your projects, your work?
I don't have an online portfolio. I have the poster from the bioinformatics internship on my LinkedIn, but I wouldn't really say that's anything. It's just there. I don't really display it. YouTube is like the biggest display. I think I've been seeing this whole thing about portfolios, and apparently it's a thing. I didn't know it was a thing until I started like deep diving into it. Oh, I was going to say this. There's a YouTuber I really like. Her name's Tina Huang.
Yeah,
I'm sure
She's
given really great advice in her YouTube videos, about like studying and stuff like that. So I would definitely I stand with her advice. And then back to
I have teenage children, so I understand what that means.
Okay, so Gerson's asking, are there any specific projects you'd recommend that could vary in difficulty level? This way I could start sooner rather than later to get projects on my portfolio.
Specific projects.
This is a little bit like kind of like what we started off the episode with, talking about like
open-ended.
Right. So Gerson, my question to you would be like, what area do you want to go into? Do you want to do marketing analytics? Do you want to do sales analytics? Is it supply chain? I would say maybe start joining these groups that are not only the specific tool you want, but also kind of the space within the analytics industry you want to be in.
Yeah, I would say get some sample data. I know AdventureWorks has sample data. I was pointing in that direction before. And just start thinking about like let's say, for example, okay, so this is what I was trying to do in like the Star Wars video that I made. It was like, okay, if you're an end user, like what is the end user's goal and what KPIs, like key performance indicators, would they want to see in order to like guide them in the next direction forward, or like what's going to help them understand like what's going on like in their company or whatever. So like John David was saying, like find like the little niche, like maybe it's sales or marketing, and like use that data and then put yourself in the user's shoes. Always put yourself in the user's shoes and think, okay, what do I want to see? And then build from there. And for Power BI specifically, there's a whole like library for DAX, which is the like data analysis expressions. It's like SQL for Power BI, where you can build out like measures or like scalar values, like sum of something. And then you can also build out more columns in Power BI too. And I would just like keep going with it, basically, like with your report. I don't know if that makes sense.
Okay,
Yeah.
so we got Matt Bratton tuning in here, and he's saying project recommendation: choose a topic you care about. I think that's really important. So I was listening to Naval Ravikant, who's an angel investor. He's kind of rebranded himself as like a business philosophy type guy, and his advice on reading is read the books you enjoy until you enjoy reading, and then start kind of expanding out. Which, I mean, I've taken that advice. I just read The Old Man and the Sea, which is like, I don't know, 90 pages. It's like a very simple, short book, but I got a sense of like accomplishment. Like I did it. I haven't read a book.
Seeing as how that's one of those ones that like your English teacher had to hold a gun to your head to get you to read in high school. So,
right.
Yeah.
Right. And now I'm like, okay, Hemingway is a really interesting author, and I'm starting to appreciate kind of the nuance and his perspective. And I think the same thing can apply, like maybe even do something related to your specific community. So we've got Code for Greensboro here. And also too, that's not only are you working on real data, but you're also getting access to people in your community who might refer you to a job.
I'm laughing at the comments.
Which one?
In the chat. Everyone, it's like, I love looking at the chat.
It is really interesting, right? Like, so is this your first time doing a live stream?
No, so when I was streaming on Twitch, I would it would be live streaming, and so that's why I'm like so gravitating towards it, because it would be all about like I would just be staring at the chat, like trying to talk to someone, and, like so it would be like
Interesting. So should we be more chat centric, you think?
Yeah, I think so.
Well, if you had a proper social media manager, he'd probably be watching the chat. You should probably switch seats, to be honest with you.
Oh,
I don't know, chat. What do you guys think?
Yeah, that's true. What do they say on Twitch? Just leave a comment in the chat.
Probably just encourage Abe and Matt to make more jokes. To be honest.
Not sure. All right, so we got Thomas Bozer here saying, "Hi, Jenny. My question is, what would you be if you weren't a data analyst? Do you have a plan for transitioning out of data analytics?" Interesting. Surprise. I didn't read that question before. I just read it.
Nothing good comes out of chat.
So, I mean, are you looking to move beyond data analytics? Or are you?
No, I love data analytics, but it depends where. What would I be if I weren't? If I honestly like, I like music, so like that's something I would have wanted to be doing if it wasn't going to be something tech with tech. Or like maybe in the future, like I'd love to like go up and do more sales, like managerial stuff. But if I wasn't in this space, I would want to be in like the entertainment, which I guess that kind of makes sense. Like,
well, you're kind of already there with the YouTube channel.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, you're like, yeah, it's a small potato. I want to be like bright lights, my name up on the billboards. That's right, because you're in LA, right?
Yeah. So there's a lot of my friends are in entertainment here. Like they work in entertainment.
Have you gone out and played anywhere, like coffee shops or anything like that?
No, because of the pandemic.
Yes, there's that.
Okay, here we go.
Think, Mark. Think. Julian, Rafa. I'm just saying you guys' names. Hey, Jenny, please share good sources to prepare SQL for data analyst interviews. Like to learn SQL? Okay. You can download the SQL server from Microsoft, I believe, and play with it there. You can import data. I haven't done it, but that was the suggestion that was given to me, like when I asked this question to someone at work. I actually learned through, if you're just a way beginner in SQL, I did Code Academy. It was like the bare bones, like really simple. And so that's where I would go. Honestly, to everybody who's looking for resources, I really like YouTube. I like looking at different sources because the reality is everyone's going to say something a little bit different to you. So I think it's good to go and learn from like different places.
So we got our intern here, which Hunter, what's with your avatar? That's so goofy looking. Stopped over at Dairy Queen.
International man of mystery, Hunter Brown.
I know everyone's missing the star of the podcast so much, so I had to hop in the chat while I can. What a great contribution. Awesome. All right. Well, speaking of Hunter.
I'm contractually required to call him a terrific intern. Under pain of termination to social media manager.
Okay. Now we have some questions rolling in.
Do you have a domain-wise formulas in Excel, Power BI, and Tableau? I don't know what domain-wise.
I don't know what that means either. Interesting. Do you have a domain-wise formula Excel? Okay, let's pivot this question. Do you use Excel, Power BI, and or Tableau?
I use Excel a little bit. I never use Tableau, and I use Power BI like all the time. So is that maybe PM? Are you referring to like the M query or DAX? Because those are like the formula languages, and like the Excel is also DAX. Like it's a slightly different, but it's similar structure. I don't know if that answers the question.
Okay, so we got another one about SQL coding interview questions.
Oh, interview questions. So
I think the other question was about that too. I was going to say, I mean, you already hit on it. Tina Huang has some great free stuff on YouTube. She has a Udemy course, which is literally just her going through one SQL interview question at a time, explaining her thinking. She does like mock. Everyone is like a mock interview. Like question one is like Ken G is the interviewer, and she's answering it, and he's kind of grilling her, and then each question is some other like celebrity data person asking her the interview question. I think Ken probably comes up a couple times, but yeah, it's the course is nothing but like 12 different kind of very rigorous SQL interview questions, and she just whiteboards them out and says, here's what I did, here's why I did it, here's my line of thinking, which I have not been through one of those interviews yet myself, but that's what I hear they're expecting is, yeah, not just get the right answer, but show your work and explain your line of thinking is kind of the trick to those.
Yeah, I'd say that's like the trick to interviews in general. They want to know how you think. They're looking for that critical thinking way more so than if you can just like regurgitate facts.
Right, which gets back to that point of like the hard skills are a commodity, and it's a commodity that's going to be outdated within the next 3 to 4 months. So like Tableau is constantly coming up with new updates. So having a certification really, I mean, it's good to have, but it's not going to win you a job. So it looks like there's some other chat suggestions on SQL interview questions. So we got LeetCode, and StrataScratch was actually a podcast sponsor for a while. So Nate is a pretty solid dude. Let's see. I think I saw another one.
My one problem from StrataScratch is it's kind of poorly graduated. You have like the beginner level, which is just like absolute, just writing with crayons, like select from where, and that's it. And then the intermediate level immediately goes into common table expressions and like nested subqueries. And it's like, okay, there's no crawl walk. There's no walk level. It's crawl sprint. Okay. So to me,
interesting.
Difficulty with overcoming lack of reviews and earnings on Upwork. What's his boot camp, and I've worked as a developer.
So do you have this is actually probably directed at me because you don't have any online courses, do you?
I don't have any online courses, no.
So what's funny is I have the opposite problem on Udemy is basically I'm getting abused at scale on a daily basis. Part of the reason why I hired Hunter so that I don't have like people in broken English like berating me like 5 or 6 times a day. So I do have a course on Udemy, it's the exam DA100. So it's the Power BI certification. It's like a 7.5 hour course, and people are just grilling me. So Stony, if you're looking to get into the course creation space, I would probably do what we did. So
seems like he's talking about Upwork. Like how do you get jobs on
Upwork? I read that as Udemy. I do that often. I like just completely read things differently.
Something snapped in your brain.
Yeah, what is Upwork?
That's the platform for getting contract work. So I think he's just, it's like being the new person on trying to sell something on eBay or something like that. He has no reviews, so he's unlikely to get picked to do jobs.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But you haven't heard of Upwork?
I haven't, but I don't know if this is
Straight
possible,
into
but
full-time employment, man.
could you like get some friends that are also like into like data analytics and data science to like look over the course and see if it's helpful for them, and then if it is, like they can write some reviews.
Start an Upwork pod. That's
someone's already there's someone is already in this space doing. I think it's more data science work, but I can't remember the guy's name off the top of my head, but I know that he's making like
hundreds of thousands.
Yeah, upwards of six figures, like low six figures doing freelance work on Upwork. So Jenny, you never heard of this? This is interesting.
No, I haven't.
Okay, so let's keep it relevant for you in Power BI.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Did you guys want to do some data modeling stuff?
She's already got like 4 side hustles.
Yeah. We can jump into that afterwards. So I think Upwork's interesting, and I just kind of wanted to get like our audience like aware of what's out there. So these people, Janie K, it looks like she's earned over $40,000, is a data analyst and graphic designer. So that's interesting. It's kind of like that point of creativity and hard skills. And it's interesting. She's only charging $50 an hour. This guy's charging $100. Let's look at some of the projects for Power BI.
This is crazy. I didn't know this was a thing.
Yeah. So I started my own consulting agency in person, but I have found some projects on Upwork. But it's been years. What I did actually most recently was I subcontracted work to people. There's someone I found on Upwork. Is it this one? Apply to jobs posted by clients. Interesting. So they changed up the interface even since I've last looked at it, which has been probably 6 months now. So now it's like they have a range for the hourly. It was only posted 3 hours ago. So Stony, I don't know if this is a creepy metaphor or not, but it's kind of like a dating app. Like you're a guy in this situation. Like I heard Tinder is like 80% guys, 20% females. So like you're not the belle of the ball here, and you've got to do some upfront like hustle work to just I would spend maybe an hour or two a day if you have that to just constantly be applying. And yeah, it may take a couple weeks for you to get that first job, but I mean, it's a marketplace, and it looks like it's growing. I mean, looking at the UI of this website, it looks like there's some money being invested, because it's gotten a lot nicer since I was originally on it like 5 years ago. Man, I was on here 5 years ago. That's wild. I'm starting to feel so old. So Jenny, are any of these projects something that you think you've been on?
These Upwork, enterprise consultant from Attribution. Yeah. Looking to partner with consultant.
Yeah, we can
I haven't done much with API integrations, but SQL. So like, ideally you have data stored in like a cloud database, and then you can bring in the tables into Power BI. You can create SQL views for the tables. This is like what I do.
Well, maybe we could find one that's like more tailored specifically to what you do.
Business. I'd say, yeah, like this is like very emblematic of work, like just like Power BI work. Every situation is going to be different because everyone has data coming from like different places. But
see, this is also an interesting way of like looking at this Upwork posting. you will work directly with the director of sales. If you could potentially maybe segue one of these projects into a full-time job, or at least like an ongoing longer term contract, because it looks like this one is, so it's less than 30 hours a week right now. Okay, this one doesn't have a specific time.
Yeah, so that's what a lot of the consulting projects like that I work on, they're long-term projects like that they do end up continuing. You keep on getting more requirements and things change all the time. You always want to be making like building long-term solutions versus short-term solutions, so that in a lot of cases like might take a lot longer. You'll have to build out the automation for it. But for Stony, like something like that, like bringing anything into your expertise that's like, okay, like I can do this, and then also I can make it better because I have like experience in automation. Like instead of doing like manual Excel work, like we can do something else, like use like a Power Automate, which is like a Power Platform, part of the Power Platform, Power BI stuff. They all go together, but that's like a lot of the work that we do in my company.
All right, so it looks like Matt Bratton made 40 buckaroos on 2 minutes of work for formatting Excel. So that was probably like 10 years ago. I don't know if there are jobs posted like that anymore, but who knows?
Well, it was probably something that someone thought was terribly complex that Matt could knock out in like, 6 hotkey. He knows all the hotkeys.
True. All right, so let's hop into this.
He doesn't have to touch his mouse, that Matt Bratton.
Let's hop into this interactive segment here. Okay, so this is the work that Hunter did, and I wish he didn't have to go. So he apparently the log cabin he's in does not have service, so he went to the Dairy Queen to join the live chat. So I guess the Dairy Queen Wi-Fi is probably not strong enough for him to join the stream. But maybe what we could do is just critique his overall work right now. So what's your first, like, have you ever done like a portfolio or a data viz?
Yeah, okay, so I'll just run through it. Hide the thing that says page 1 when you publish it to the service. I'm going to be super nitpicky. I'm sorry, Hunter.
We like nitpicky.
Wait,
okay. Hide the thing that says, hide it. So like right click and then hide. Yeah, and that's actually a good page to have if you want to do some data validation testing. You can drag on tables and like test the data and make sure that your calculations are correct or the data is coming in correctly.
Oh, wow, I'm learning things. I didn't know about the hide function. Interesting. So I thought it was going to hide it totally, but no. So what this functionality does is I can see it on the back end, but when I publish it, it's not. Okay, that's really nifty.
Yeah.
I like that.
And then just maybe like a better report title, like have it really nitpicky, like just like a capitalize. That's what make it like look like it says Facebook, Amazon attribution works. So like title like exactly what it is, like sales dashboard or like sales report, Amazon report. I don't know, something like that. This is just stuff that I would do and have a.
So yeah, we could say marketing attribution.
Yeah, like have it clean. So like when.
Do you put dates, by the way?
I don't, but you could if you wanted to. Like,
what about?
So this
think of this.
So the reason why I say this is because whatever its title is what it's going to look like when you publish it to the service, and that's the title of the report that the end user is going to see. So whatever you want it to be, like that makes the most sense to that end user.
Okay, what do you think of? So do you ever do? So in your consulting work, do you have like, all right, here is the prototype, and then you send it off to the client, and they give you feedback, and you take like an iterative approach?
Yeah, it's very similar to that.
So what would you potentially title it, like prototype?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, that's good.
All right.
It needs like a title, like maybe like in the middle of the report, like on the left-hand side of top, or like not middle, sorry, like top middle, just like a title, like to explain like what it is, like
Okay.
So it's not just like the KPIs.
Going straight into data.
Yeah.
Wait a sec. Oh, wow, I am having a brain fart moment. I forgot how to add text boxes. Oh wait, here it is, right here. No, that's a KPI card.
Go to insert at the top where it says home. Yeah, and then do text box next to buttons in Power Automate preview.
Okay. I've been doing most of it's funny how quickly you forget this stuff. I've been doing most of the development in Tableau. So it's funny how, it would have just taken me a minute to figure that out. All right. So let's call this, marketing attribution. I cannot type attribution. All right. And then what's the best way to format this? Just right click?
So yeah, highlight it, and then you can with the text box, it's weird. There's two different ways. So sometimes I like to have, so where it says title, you can actually turn the title on and then have it say marketing automation in the title box. Okay, I'll show you why. Okay, so click out of it.
Okay, click out.
Yeah, like just click anywhere on the report. Now try to move that box, the marketing automation box. Okay. It becomes like a little harder to move it when you have the text within the box. So if you don't have that much text, I like to copy that and turn the title on in the format text box on the side.
Oh, right here.
And turn it, yeah.
And then paste it in?
And then so go back to the title and then click the down arrow and then paste it into there. Yeah. And then you can
okay, so now it's formatted and then I can come here.
Yeah, you can format. So you can format it in either place. I like doing this way because it's easier to move the text box around, and I also like to turn the background off of the text box. It's gonna, because right now it's a white background.
The background off?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
So I have to be honest, I like the UI of Tableau quite a bit more than I do. This you know what this feels like for me? It's like Mac versus PC. This feels just like really, I don't know, like less intuitive.
I think if you used it more, you would feel the opposite. Like you would feel because I haven't really used Tableau, but to me, it seems less intuitive, but that's just because I know and use Power BI and it's what I'm comfortable with. You're going to feel more comfortable with the tool that you've used. So.
Well, it just feels like more technically oriented.
Power BI does?
Yeah.
Okay, that's interesting.
From my perspective. But, cause within a dashboard in Tableau, I think it would, because you have to do these individually to where within a dashboard in Tableau you could do a box, a whole panel. So yeah, this is.
I need to give Tableau a shot. I haven't, so I can say, oh yeah, this is what's different here and there, but yeah.
Well, what's funny is I'm more well known as a Power BI expert, but I don't use it day to day like I do Tableau. So I'm looking woefully inactive. Okay, all right. So now that we've removed the background, why is it's got that dotted in the back? Those dots in the back.
Oh yeah. Okay. So if you want to remove those dots, it's just for you as the developer. If you like the dots for formatting, to look at it. Okay. Yeah. So you can go to home. And then, go to view. And where it says grid lines, yeah.
Okay.
And then you can also turn off the snap to grid if you wanted as well. Okay. I don't like having that thing on, but it doesn't really matter.
You don't like having snap to grid on? Interesting.
Yeah. Because when I format things, I like to get it down to the very point, and so I'll go into the
like the pixel.
Yeah, like I'll like make sure the pixels are like exact. It's crazy.
Interesting.
It's like if you like are so into like if you're like a perfectionist, like I swear this is like the best job for you.
See, I'm not. I'm more of like a generalist, I would say.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. So I would like move everything down. Like just like I would delete that visual at the bottom. What is that thing? That thing, yeah. What value is that giving?
The ask a question thing?
Yeah.
I don't know how that even came up, so I just click on it.
Yeah, so I would remove it.
Yeah,
I think, yeah. Oh, that just came up. Okay, I see, yeah.
Yeah. No, this is... I wish Hunter were here so he could be doing the clicking. Because my mouse pad is like not great.
You're doing amazing, John David. You're doing great.
Thank you.
I love it.
Okay, all right.
You're not blaming your tools though, which I hear is a bad thing.
The tool's not sharp. I can't cut well.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, right. So I would put the KPIs underneath the title.
Underneath?
Yeah.
Interesting. What do you like? Have the title span the entire thing and then have it underneath?
Yeah, or usually like
I wish you had a portfolio so you could point to like here's my design.
What red looks like.
Because this is like how I design reports personally is I have my KPIs along the top so that the and it's in like the theory behind it is the most important one is on the top left and then it goes to from left to right in like importance. So the most important is on that left. So
yeah, I mean, there's no right or wrong. It's whatever the end user likes the most. So do we know what are they trying to? What's the goal?
Okay, so this is what's interesting is that Hunter, I just sent him the data and he hasn't actually taken the course. I'm seeing the value of like having these step-by-step instructions because he made a lot of assumptions that are just not accurate. Like, for example, like I think I have the data pulled up right here. I do. So like this data is pretty intuitive, the gross sales. But if we come over to our Facebook sales, product order sale is the actual value of the sales. So he missed that within, and I don't know if he's in the chat. I don't know if Hunter's a Dairy Queen listening in and having.
Hey, Matt.
Oh, interesting.
Matt has my back.
I didn't realize that the audience was so ill-informed about things. All right. So yeah, so he missed the. I don't think he's using product order sales over here for the total ad spend. All right. This is, I don't want to bore the audience because this is like some really like specific nitpicky work. Let's at a high level just analyze like what do you think of his visual decisions and the specific charts that he chose?
I think bar charts and line charts are great. They're easy to understand. Those are like the safest, like true and tried and true visuals, if you will. But let me look closer at it. Dollar. Okay. Can you like zoom in, like make the report bigger?
Okay. How do you do that?
Oh.
Is there some sort of presentation mode where it takes the whole screen?
So roll these back.
Yeah. Maybe just go like where the top is, like where it says sign in, and then like just like make the screen bigger, the Power BI screen bigger.
But
it might make it so you can't see other things, right? Is that why?
Hold on, let's roll these panes down. Is that better?
Yeah, that's a little better. Dollar spend, and then it's like numbers like -1,000, -5,000. So is that? I'm looking at the first line chart. So I guess my question is like why? I would assume that the like -1,000, -5,000 is if that's a dollar value, then it should be showing as a dollar value in the chart, not like as a number.
Wait, okay.
Why is there a negative spend?
All right. Because if we come over to our ad spend data source, spend was accounted for in the raw data files as a negative value. So Jenny, what do you think? What I did, and I think I do have.
Oh, Hunter, it's okay.
We're just destroying his work.
Hunter, it's so good. Like,
let's see. All right.
Positive reinforcement.
So here's the first iteration that I took in Tableau. And this is, I posted this as kind of like prototype 1. And I'm realizing this may not have the updated data source. So we had our Amazon sales associated with the ad spend, Facebook sales associated with the Facebook ad spend. And the first like criticism I got on LinkedIn is we need to have like an overall return on investment KPI up here in the top left. But people generally kind of liked the relationship of, all right, here is the Amazon return on investment. So for instance, on February 23rd, we had $2,028 in sales, and we had a relatively low ad spend, which is a relatively good. But yeah, so that's what this chart is recreating that, only combining all of it together. And what I did in the Tableau use case is I just multiplied the spend times -1 to get it as a positive value.
Okay, so are we getting into like how things are being calculated then?
Well, I think the -1 calculation is not getting into, because the one thing I worry about is like boring our audience.
Yeah.
Too much and getting super technical. So like
they're a bunch of data nerds. Isn't this what they're here for?
Well, I guess chat, let us know if we're being super boring. But
just let us know by leaving. Just look at the number that's still here.
Oh, there's 25. 25 is still pretty good. We'll see it like in a day later.
After an hour and a half.
If it like dropped off. Yeah, we're an hour and a half.
So we still got 75% of our like max audience.
True. By the way, Jenny, let us know if you need to if you need to hop off at any time. This is like anything past this point is just gravy.
Okay, yeah, no, I'm good to keep going. Sony brought something up that I think is important. It was do you teach the best methods for encoding information? So this is something that day to day is like such a struggle, like making sure that the data is like pretty and not like dirty, because a lot of time you'll have dirty data and that can be attributed to how the data was like originally put into the data source. So I would say like never give free form. Don't let people fill things out on their own, like give drop down options.
Right.
I don't know if that answers that question, if that was what you were referring to, desaturating and decluttering. So Power BI is great with the M query to do transformations, but it's meant more to be like a quick fix. You can get things done like really quickly in the M query, like if you need to like clean some of the columns up. But I would say pushing it as far back to the data source as possible is where you would want to be doing the decluttering and maybe I'm like reading this wrong.
I was going to say, can you define what that means? I don't even understand in this context, desaturating and decluttering. Like I understand data governance issues. Like for example, in some of the consulting work I've done, we've done like survey analysis. And if someone, yeah, you're right. If someone has to type in their address, they might type in North Carolina or they might type in NC. And then it's like, okay, you're right. We need a drop-down menu so that everything is completely on uniform and on the same page. So either we're going with North Carolina or NC for every single data point.
Yeah.
Whoa. So do you know what he means by desaturating and decluttering?
No.
I think we've all agreed we don't know.
Okay. All right. Well,
I'm making an assumption, which is not a good thing.
Oh, here we go.
Okay.
All right.
Flagging suspect data. Many people don't do things to their data pipelines to flag data. Yeah, that's so important to like flag data, like for because there's always going to be issues. So you want to have like test cases put in place in your pipeline that can catch the issues before it gets all the way up to the report. And oh my gosh, then the stakeholder sees it and they're like, what the heck is this?
So what's interesting is that now that we've gotten into Power BI, all of the questions are flooding in. So this is interesting. I feel like we're learning as podcasters here of like, okay, if they have something concrete to look at, now their creativity and their imagination is going to start going. Because now they're even like starting to like interact with each other, which is awesome. So Nick is agreeing with Stoney. But what type of data should be flagged and how?
It depends on what your data is. For example, if there's let's say like you're trying to, you just have like a column and it's age. So you would expect the numbers to be between like 1 and 100. But let's say there was something wrong with the data and a column, one of the other columns data got mixed in with the age data. And all of a sudden there's numbers like 550 in there. Like you could put validation checks in place that would be like, okay, like if this value gets over like a certain threshold, then throw this error or like send this error out and like let the like data owners or the data engineers know that there's something wrong with the data. That one like little example, but things like that. And like spelling, like making sure like if you do have a free form, turning like all the text like making sure that it's like all like something like with the capitalization that it's matching, and if it's not matching, like,
so you could do that like within Power Query Editor. So like capitalize the first.
So you can fix things in the Power Query Editor, but you wouldn't want the error. Ideally, you wouldn't want the error to like come into Power BI. It's going to.
Oh, gotcha. Right.
Like, you want to fix it as far away from Power BI as possible. You want to, and the good thing about Power BI is like often, like if there is something wrong, the way that the M query works is it's like a step by step. So it's expecting to see the same columns, the same column names, the same value types, like every time it runs through the steps when you're refreshing the data. So if something's wrong, it'll throw in an error and you'll get the error. You'll see it. Like if it's published to the service, it's your report, like Power BI will send you an email and be like, this report hasn't refreshed due to XYZ error.
All right. Yeah. So I'm familiar with kind of the steps. So like, for example, we've connected to 4 different data sources here. So this first step is just identifying the source, navigating it. And then, so I had to do a little bit of cleanup because the way that this data source, like we come over here to ad spend, you can see that it's got a metadata point, a space, then the actual data point starts. So I had to go in and I mean, this is like the kiddie pool compared to that. So you're using Power BI day in and day out.
Yeah.
So, okay.
I just want to say this is my first look at Power BI. This seems so much more like formal and official than Tableau.
Right.
It seems like sometimes you're like playing with like crayons and Disney characters and stuff. It's all colorful and fun. It's like, ooh, I slide this over.
See, it's the Mac versus PC thing.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
Mac is like all creative and fun and like rounded edges, and PC is like very square.
Yeah.
But I do like, so Al, do you understand like what's going on with these applied steps? Okay. Cool.
Why is it the red, the like candy cane red thing?
I don't know what that.
There's something wrong.
Okay. Do I right click on it?
Go to the source. Go to the first applied step. Okay. The error, it's go to refresh preview and try refreshing the data. Or so where it says refresh preview at the top.
At the top. Refresh preview.
Yeah. So there's data source error. That's why I was showing red, because it knew when you tried to refresh it the next time that it wasn't going to work.
Okay. So what does this mean? I need to connect to the data source again?
It's being used by another process.
Oh, it's because this is open. So I got to close this out.
Maybe try again. I'm not sure. Maybe that'll fix it. Yep. Oh.
No. Do you understand? What are these hidden?
Hidden. I don't know. What? Maybe is that like has to do with sheets in your Excel file?
Okay, so what this is Hunter did this work, sent it to me because he said, "Hey, I may not be able to make the chat," and then I just had to connect to my data sources. So that may be the error. I'm not sure. But we don't have to spend a ton of time on that, just because like this kind of work is it takes a bit of investigating, you know.
Yeah. No, it is really nitty gritty stuff.
Yeah, I don't want to get like hyper fixated on something. Focus on this one like minor detail for like an hour and a half. But I thought this was kind of interesting. Of maybe you can help fix this data model puzzle here. So I had already assembled this, but like before we got on air, and then I broke it just so we can have some fun with it.
Yeah,
so
I love that.
Okay, so Jenny, what we've got here is we've got our ad spend data source, which is all of our spend data for both Facebook and Amazon combined into one data source. We have our date table, which is essentially our date scaffold. So that's how we're going to combine all these together. And then we have our Amazon sales with a bunch of dimensions related to Amazon sales, and then we have our Facebook sales. So how would you combine these together?
So which one, so you have 3 fact tables and 1 dimension table?
Okay, so I haven't been thinking in terms of this like frame. So a fact table is where you have your metrics, and a dimension table is where you have your dimensions, right?
Yeah.
So we in this case study, we're not using that kind of methodology. It's like this was modeled after the data that was sent to my students last semester from their capstone project. So I mean, we could go in that direction if you think that. So these are just the 3 data sources. So the whole point of this is to calculate return on investment for marketing spend. So we have these are the 3 data sources. Should we break them apart into fact and fact and dimension tables?
It depends how many rows there are. So if the tables don't have that many rows, it's going to be easier for you to create calculations and like just build the data model, do anything in Power BI if we appended the tables on top of each other. But if there's a lot of rows, then we don't want to do that. So how many rows are there?
So we can come over. See, this is fun for me because I haven't touched Power BI in a couple months. All right, so there doesn't seem to be very many rows in the ad spend data. I mean,
oh wow, it's like Christmas. I'm so used to seeing like so many rows.
Well,
so much easier when there's less.
To give you the context of this, so this is based off of a situation where it's a large company that sells B2B. They started their own direct B2C brand. So this is the first 3 months of those sales and marketing spend. So yeah, so that's why it's kind of small. And then coming over here. Oh wow, that's taking some time.
Oh, okay. So the tables are all different.
Yeah, right. So append, is that where you would just stat? Is that like a union or what would?
Yeah. So appending in Power BI is like the same as like doing a union in SQL. So you're just stacking the tables on top of each other.
Right. So that's not going to work in this situation because these are 3 distinct
different
tables.
Okay. Yeah, that's what it. Why? Where are all the values?
I don't know why they're not coming through it. Weird. Okay, I just saw the glimpse of there's 366 rows. I don't know. It could just be that my little laptop can't handle all the programs running right now. I've also like filled up the storage to almost completely full with all the video files from like the podcast and
gotta get a good external for that, or cloud.
But okay, so I guess coming back to this, so this is how I joined them together within. So actually, one of my students, I'm super proud of her. So Christina is one of my students from last semester. She was actually in the picture yesterday. So we're still like friends and hanging out and like building that analytics community. She came up with this concept or researched this concept of a data scaffold. So the three things that are in common with the Facebook sales, Amazon sales, and the ad spend is that they all have a date field. So what she figured out to do is to combine them all together using a date table.
That sounds amazing. We love the date tables, the date dimension tables. Yeah, that's typically how you would do it. That would be your dimension, or it would be one if depending on what the data looks like. But so how did she create the date table? Well,
I guess now let's. So what she did honestly was she figured out, okay, this is looking at Q1 of 2020. So all she did was create an Excel file that had every single date from that quarter of the year. And then that is used as the go-between, for example, the 2020 ad spend and the Amazon sellers. And what we were able to do, I can show you what we did in Tableau. And this is actually kind of cool going back and forth between Power BI and Tableau. Because, this just looks more visually appealing to me. But maybe that's just what I'm used to. So in this use case, we use the date table, and then there's a relationship. So there's a one-to-many relation. No. Okay, interesting. This is saying many-to-many.
Oh, that's not good. But it looks the same. It looks like in Power BI, like with the one-to-many relationships, like the date table, and then they're connected. Date table is connected to those. So here you can see that's 1, 2, 3, January 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th. So this we were able to combine the sales and the ad spend for this one's Amazon. So we can kind of see the relationship within this line chart. So what I want to do is kind of recreate it within Power BI. So I'm totally putting you on the spot here, which I know like consulting work, you're like, you get the information and you spend like a day or two kind of like working through it. This isn't like a linear process. Sometimes go down rabbit holes. So let me guide. I give you a little bit of guidance. I'm kind of curious what you think of the next step. So was that the Facebook sales 20 or the FBA sales 2020? Was that the one in Tableau that was connected through many relationship?
Mm-hmm.
So
wait. So I mean, I can pull this back up.
Yeah. So, it's typically not good to do many-to-many relationships with data modeling because of the way that the filtering works, because Power BI will get confused, and maybe Tableau as well, like which value to map, like which rows to map to each other. So I think is it that one?
So what's weird though is in this situation, there's only one value. So I think that what happened is that I chose the wrong type of data connection or wrong type of cardinality, but I got away with it because there weren't multiple values within our date table. Does that make sense?
Kind of. I think maybe I'm just getting myself confused.
Also, if there's questions, I mean, we can start. I feel bad. We're people are just watching us like problem solve and riff on an idea. Which is this kind of what you do at work, by the way?
Yeah, it is. It is.
Okay.
I also wanted to say this, so for the date table that was created in Excel, you can actually create a calculated, this is the way that I like to do it in Power BI, is create a calculated date table in Power BI, because you're doing it after you've done all of your data your data's coming into Power BI, it's looking exactly what you want it to look like in Power BI. So you know that the dates you're done filtering out whatever dates you don't want, and you want to start the calendar, the date calendar, for the first date that you have in your data, and you want it to end the last date that you have in your data. So you're going to get the best date calendar if you make it in Power BI, and you can just write like like there's a DAX function for calendar, and it's like one line.
Do you want to just open up? We can open up the Power Query editor. What's funny is I can feel my knowledge of Power BI coming back, because I mean I did create that like 8-hour course on it, and now I'm like, oh yeah, I did create a date table within one of the lectures. It's within the Power Query editor, right?
You can do it in the Power Query editor. I like to do it in the in the desktop view, or in the report view. Sorry, but like in not desktop view, but like just like as a
in the data view.
In the data view, yeah. So
in
the table.
So because you'd have to write some custom DAX for that, right? I mean, do you know it off the top of your head? Is it super simple?
It's just like calendar, calendar auto, or like calendar, and then like you put the table that you want to get the dates from. So calendar auto will just do it. It'll just do it like automatically what it thinks, like out of all of your tables in Power BI, like what the date range should be. But then, so if you want to create it now, it can.
Yeah. Okay. I am kind of stumped right now. Why can I not type in this?
Did you click new table? Did it get? Is it?
Oh, so new
table.
To the right.
All right here. What's funny is I have like 40 people watching me, and I'm like feeling pressure everyone. Like when I'm trying to click on something. All right, so table is equal to. All right, we're getting into some like raw DAX here. I didn't expect this to happen. I thought we were just gonna like at a high level talk about the visualizations that Hunter chose. By the way, he said it was brutal not being able to explain what I did or why I did it.
We can do that instead if that's what you guys want to do. I don't mean to steer it in like a direction.
No. I think that this is awesome. I'm totally on for the ride. So let's create a custom calendar table.
Yeah, so we can call it like a date table is great, or date. You could just call it date.
All right.
And then equals calendar. There's calendar auto and calendar. So if you want to use calendar, so calendar auto returns a table with one column of dates calculated from the model automatically. So that's when it's like looking at the whole thing and just being like, okay, like I think it's supposed to be this. And then calendar.
What do you like? What should we do? You're guiding the ship right now. You tell me what to do.
Let's just do calendar auto for now because it's easiest.
Okay.
Yeah. Fiscal year, and that's an optional thing. So like if you are dealing with dates that the fiscal year is different from like the calendar year, a lot of the functions have that. So yeah, you can just do a close parenthesis, and I think it should work like that.
Nice. It's been like, man, it's probably been over a year since I've created a new table in Power BI.
Yeah. All right. So it's like, and then from there, it automatically makes it look like data type date time. So you can change that to just date.
Okay. Wait, actually, I know how to do this.
Yes, you do.
I can take the training wheels off. There we go. All right.
I'm proud of you, John David.
Wow. I'm proud of myself now. Okay. Now I actually forgot how to close. Oh wait, no, we're not even in the Power Query editor. We're just in the date.
Yeah.
Okay, so we can come back here. All right.
So, what is the lowest or highest date granularity? Like, is it by days? Is it by fiscal quarter? Month?
So let's come ask the data if we can. I don't know why it's not coming through.
I know that is weird.
Okay, I think the ad spend is relatively. So right now it's just the day.
Okay, that's good because that's the level of our date table. So then we can connect we can connect that too. So, I mean, we just went through that exercise. I just wanted to show you guys like.
No, that's cool. I mean, you're jogging my memory because it's been so long since I've written any DAX at all. I mean, maybe a little bit when I taught class last semester, but not really. I mean, we kind of used Power BI as a framework to learn about like the fundamentals of like data visualization, and then did most of our portfolio work in Tableau, because Tableau's got a Tableau public where you can publicly post your work.
Yeah, that's cool that it has that. I always thought like Power BI had more of that, but I do like how, I will say this about Power BI, like there's like, it's like an endless like hole of learning with it. Like you can do some crazy stuff in Power BI, like crazy things with DAX and just in general with the building visualizations and stuff like that.
Well, I've got, how about let's do this crazy thing. Let's figure out how to get this connected to these.
Okay, can we try connecting it through the date? Through a one-to-many relationship?
Okay. See, this is where, because I have an external mouse because my like clicker pad is like broken, but I'm plugged into audio and video, so I can't do that. Yep.
There we go.
So it automatically did it. Okay,
Yeah.
so that was kind of the, and then we click properties and we can investigate like the actual cardinality explicitly, which is the many to one.
Yeah.
So I will say this about Power BI. Power BI is a much better data modeling tool than Tableau. I mean, Tableau Prep, I guess, has kind of come in and tried to recreate some of this functionality, but I really like that the data modeling functionality is built directly into the Power BI interface. But all right, so that was really the easy one. And we went down this whole rabbit hole of like how to create the date table, which I'm glad you showed. I think that's just an interesting lesson. But now we have to figure out how to incorporate attribution. So all of these have attribution as well. And this is a many to many. So I think, actually, I was gonna lead the witness again. But what do you think? What's your take on this? How can we do it?
Can you show me the value for what attribution is?
Yeah.
Can you kind of explain what it means too?
Okay. So in the last, what I love about this, we're building like this analytics lore, like lore as in LORE, of like this storytelling. It feels like we're like around this campfire and we're like building out the story. In the last episode, Ash, who was a former LinkedIn data scientist, now works for this company called Atlassian. He does like in-depth marketing analytics work. So what he was saying that was missing from this case study was attribution. So we can't figure out what ad led to a sale. And then we like brainstormed of some ways to like incorporate that in. So in this, we're kind of getting in the world of historical fiction in that, so this data set is the same structure from the data that my students worked on. We just anonymized the data so that to protect that client's privacy. Now we're getting into a completely like new data set by adding in attribution, because that wasn't part of their original case study, but we just made it like a level like more complex and interesting. So the attribution is at checkout, if, so there's AA1, which is Amazon ads 1, Amazon ads 2, Amazon ads 3. So what we're doing is we're kind of taking like some creativity here and saying, all right, let's say that in this like fictional use case that someone got hit with the ad and said, hey, if you enter in AA1 at checkout, you'll get 20% off. So that's how we track back what ad led to a sale.
Oh, wow.
Right. Because that's a major challenge within marketing, is like understanding where, like, because like right now we're looking at like this Tableau visualization. We're looking at high level return on investment. So we can see it looks like Facebook, I think, is slightly better than Amazon in terms of dollar spent versus dollar returned. But now we're getting a much more nuanced perspective on what's going on, because we can attribute, there were 3 different Amazon ads and there were 2 different Facebook ads.
Okay, so are you guys interested in seeing then like which one is performing better? Like, which one's better, Amazon or Facebook?
Yes, but I mean, right now, so we're almost this may be the longest podcast we've ever done. So I think right now let's just focus on, and I really appreciate you spending so much time with us. This is awesome. Like, thank you.
Yeah,
I think what we could do is just figure out how to how to combine the attribution. And I have one way that I would do it, but I'm kind of curious on if you have any ideas of how you would combine them. Because, so what we were looking at is, this is the spend data. So it has the 3 different Amazon attribution codes, and then it has the 2 different Facebook attribution codes. So how would you combine all 3 of the data sources on this?
You can create an attribution dimension. Is that what you were thinking as well?
Yes. Yeah. So what I was going to do was transform data. And maybe this is like not the correct way that like a true Power BI expert would do it, but it works. So I would come here, right click on this query, duplicate it, delete all of these columns. Is this like a super hacky way of doing it?
Yeah.
All right. Let me do it my way that works, and then we can figure out a more effective way of doing it. Oh wait, I got to click up here. Remove duplicates. And then bam, we have our attribution. Is this just like the non-technical way of doing it?
Well, it works, so that's important.
Yeah.
You did it. Okay, so there's like pros and cons to doing a lot of stuff in the M query versus doing a lot of stuff in the like the report view. With the M query, typically, first of all, anything that we're doing right now, it's not going to be a big deal. Like, it really doesn't matter because we have only like 1,000 rows. But when you start dealing with data, which you often will, like when you have like a big like use case, you're going to have like millions of rows. So this stuff is like really important. But when you do too much stuff in the M query, it can slow down the refresh. When you're calling upon the same data source in multiple tables, not just in your Power BI, but like maybe even another Power BI file is calling upon those same tables in the data source at the same time. Any of that.
Right.
It's like doing a duplicate query, essentially. Like, it's querying the data 2 separate times.
Right. Okay. So this is essentially the duct tape solution.
Yeah, this is the duct tape.
Which I can get away with that because my clientele in my consulting practice are like 150 million in revenue or less. So I'm not working at like the big data scale. So I mean, it's inefficient. And now I'm kind of curious, like, what is the efficient way? Will you teach me? Is there an easy way of doing it?
You can still do it in M query, like without creating I think you can, if you click on, first of all, the question I should ask is, for the attributions, we want it from all 3 tables, right? So is there ever going to be an instance where maybe in one of the tables you only have 1 attribution value, or maybe another one you have like an extra one? Like, is it always going to be the same attribution values in every single table? Okay,
I love that you asked this question so I could explicitly state this. You're never going to have, I mean, because think about this from a logic standpoint. If the ad doesn't exist, you're not going to attribute sales to it. Like the ad happens and then the sale occurs. Like, there are situations where there would be no ad, it could be a social or organic. But yeah, so we can pull the attribution just from the ad spend because the relationship is the ad happens and then the sale occurs.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
I think so. I think my problem is that, like, I don't have this I don't understand marketing, like, stuff, like, deeply. So that's, like, my fault. But
No. Well, I mean, you're a consultant, so you're like faced with like new novel business problems all the time, right?
yeah, I think it does make sense. So it sounds like all of the values for attribution that are from the 2020 ad spend table, they're also going to be in the other two tables, and there's never going to be an instance where there's a new attribution value in the FBA sales 2020 table and not in the other tables.
Absolutely.
Okay, perfect.
Wait, well, so there's the ad spend data, and then half of the ad spend is going to go to the Facebook, and then the other is going to go to Amazon.
Yeah, I think it's like the data value, like just like the.
I wish we had a whiteboard so I could like draw it out.
I think I get what you're saying. In that case, then the way that you're doing it like does work really well, like given your specific use case, the fact that you only have this small amount of data, and that you know that this table that you just created right now, the attribution table, it's always going to hold all of the values that you need for attribution.
Right.
Yeah.
So this is kind of where the business acumen meets the hard skills.
Yeah.
Which I'm like a bodybuilder when it comes to the business acumen. I'm kind of like I'm swimming in like the kiddie pool when it comes to the hard skills within this situation. So show me the like pristine way of isolating just attribution. Would it just be creating a new dimension? And is it M code or DAX? M code is the query language, right?
Yeah, M is the query. So you can do it in DAX, like, so if you hit close and apply, or like go out of the M query, you can use a group by, like similar to how you would like use group by in SQL. And okay, so this is how. So I think given your use case, maybe you did do it in like. I feel like, I don't know, I couldn't say like best or worst, but I think the way you did it was really good. Like you did it in a great way. If you had a lot of data, what I would do is I would create another calculated table in DAX, and it's like important to be careful with these calculated tables because making too many of them will slow down when you're like clicking on visuals. It'll like have the loading symbol like go on for a really long time. Because Power BI is calculating everything like within the report in that second. But you can, so what I would do, like, let's say like you have, because this will often be the case for a lot of situations where you have 3 different tables, they all have attribution, but then some of the attribution values in one table are different than the ones in the other, and you want to combine them all together to make one big dimension table. Then you could click new table, and
okay, so new table.
Yeah, and I think you would use the maybe it is union or group by. So you could call it like attribution or dimension since we have the attribution table in here already.
Okay, so attribution dimension, and then equals.
I think it would be
so the 2020 ad spend attribution, and then is there a function to isolate or just remove duplicates?
I think try doing value. I think it might be values. Yeah, the values attribution. Just like add all of them. Yeah, and then so click back to the beginning of values and like start typing group by. Yeah, I think that group by, create a summary. Then table.
Okay, group by, and then did you say table or?
Sorry, I'm trying to figure this out. I've done this before, and it's like.
Right. Well, for those of you, which I'm surprised there's still 18 people just on YouTube. I don't know how many people are watching on LinkedIn. Zero? There's 0 people on LinkedIn? Really? Okay. We got 18 people on YouTube who are like in for this long form content. Okay. So yeah, I mean, I'm totally putting you on the spot here, and like new context. This is not how consulting works. Like you would see it and then be able to research and like figure out the solution.
Yeah.
But But I guess the takeaway here is that you can potentially create some M code.
Yeah, like you could do M or you could do DAX. There's other ways for you to do it in M too. Like,
okay,
it's going to depend on the data.
So group by values, attribution, and then can I just close it out? Do you think that'll work?
No, yeah. I don't think it'll work. I'm going to Google it. This is the best tip I can give on this whole podcast is like Google is your best friend.
Well, we don't have to like get into like Googling it and like doing a heavy. The takeaway is that the way that I did it was the duct tape way. It worked, but it was clunky. There, you can create some pristine code that'll just like zip right through it.
Yeah. Okay. And I would have to argue, like, I'm sorry I said this. I take it back. Like, you're right, John David. Like, it's not clunky because of your specific situation where you only have a little bit of data and you're only using that one data source. I'm guessing for just this report or this in the Tableau report. So in that sense, it shouldn't cause a problem. But something like that could be done differently.
Well, it's like effectiveness versus efficiency.
Yeah.
Efficiency is not the priority in this situation. It's effectiveness. And I mean, like, because these kinds of insights can be worth like $1 million, and I can do it with clunky code. Or I could have a pristine, like, Power BI setup that doesn't have any value. I mean, it's like, I think I'm much more kind of like the duct tape solution, effectiveness oriented, to where I think a lot of people in the audience are like, they geek out on the code in like the most effective, efficient way, which I think there's a place and value for both of those.
Absolutely. I totally agree with that.
Awesome. Al, I haven't said anything in a while. How are you doing?
I've actually got a hard stop. I've got to go pick up the wife and kids.
Okay. All right. Well, Jenny, this was awesome and completely, I didn't expect us to go in this direction, but I hope you had fun and this wasn't like a tedious, like.
Oh no, it's so great. Thank you guys so much. I had so much fun. And it was like nice to meet everyone and like everyone in the chat. Like, thank you so much to everyone that came. I know I've seen like some of my friends in here as well. Like, thank you guys. And like to those of you that I haven't met in person in the chat, like, hello.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. I love that. Like, I know that you're like super smart and successful. You got to showcase it here. Like you like know your Power BI stuff way better than I do. You're in the trenches day in and day out. I'm impressed. Thank you for coming on. Yeah,
of course. Thank you for having me.
And thanks everybody who tuned in on the chat. We will see you guys on Wednesday, right?
Yes.
All right. Bye.
See you guys. So, did you cut her off?
Nah, she logged off.
Oh.
In this case study course, you're going to learn 3 things. Number 1, you're going to improve your business acumen. This means that you're going to learn about how business works. Then we're going to move into the second point, which is analytics hard skills. So once we understand how the business works, we're then going to use some business intelligence tools, specifically Tableau, to solve the business problem and uncover insights. And then the third point, which is very, very important, are the soft skills. And the whole last chapter is dedicated to how you can more effectively explain your findings and also talk about past projects in an interview setting. To be a little bit more specific, you're going to be calculating the return on investment of 2 different marketing channels. So we're going to be looking at our Amazon and our Facebook ad spend. And there are 3 different data sources. So our first data source is our cost data source. And this is where we can see all of the ad spend, and it's in one data source. Then there is a sales data source for Facebook and a sales data source for Amazon. The challenge is that we're going to have to combine all 3 of these data sources together and then isolate our spending data and associate it with the relevant sales data source. By the end of the project, you're going to figure out which of these has the highest return on investment. But you're also going to have a challenge where you're going to visualize the data and see if there are any insightful trends that you could communicate to our end client. So if you're up for a challenge, then sign up and let's get started.